This is Making Things Happen. I'm Hanisha Lalwani. Welcome to the show. My guest today is Alex Malouf. Alex is the former Executive Director of Corporate Communications and Public Relations at Ceer, Saudi Arabia's first electric vehicle brand. Alex has also previously worked with heavyweight brands such as Schneider Electric, Procter & Gamble, and ABB, amongst others. Alex was named as the first communications innovator in the MEA region by the Holmes Report and was named a rising star and future Chief Communications and Marketing Officer by Provoke Media. Alex is passionate about transforming marketing, media, and communications for the better. Over the many years since I've gotten to know Alex, I've considered him to be an inspiring industry leader through not only his work, but also his volunteering projects to shape and support training and awareness initiatives for those looking to pursue a career in public relations. Alex, such a pleasure to have you on my show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good to be here with you.
Alex, I want to begin with a bit of a trivia to demonstrate what a true communicator you are. You are a polyglot, and among the many languages you speak, Arabic, French, German, Malaysian, you also know an ancient Middle Eastern language called Aramaic. Could you talk to me a bit about how you went about learning this language?
I think I had one module free on my final year of my first degree, which was Middle Eastern Studies. And Aramaic is the root of, it's a Semitic language, it's a root of a lot of words in Arabic and Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And given my interest in the region, specifically related to Israel and Palestine, I thought, yeah, let me go and learn Aramaic. It may be useful one day. So I took Aramaic for a semester. I can't remember how much I actually do remember of Aramaic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a language which I'm going to speak very often.
No, I assume not.
Yeah, let's be direct about that. But yeah, it's something which was very interesting in terms of reading scriptures. We also looked at ancient texts from 2,000, 3,000 years back. Yeah, at least it's a talking point.
It definitely is a talking point, and I don't know how many other fellow Aramaic speakers you've met in your life.
Probably, I think maybe 4 or 5.
Not too bad. That's more than I thought. I've known you as a very prolific communications professional in the MENA region, but I am very, very curious to know, what were you like as a student? You come across very confident. Were you always confident as a young person?
I think with my first degree, at the very least, I was doing my first degree out of a passion. Again, not many people choose Middle Eastern studies, and they tend to be from all different types, very distinct backgrounds, and it was just so much fun, and when you do something which you enjoy and you love it, I think you just dive straight in. I spent far too much of my time in the library, I'll admit, when I was an undergrad. I probably spent too much time in the library coffee shop. Again, it's probably set me up for being a journalist and a communicator. But I think, that's my message to a lot of people. Try and choose something that you enjoy. And if you do that, then, whatever you do is going to be a pleasure. Whatever you do is going to hopefully resonate with you for the rest of your life. And, you're going to keep on enjoying it.
Yeah. I don't presume to have known what I always wanted to do. So marketing was something that I kind of thought was a safe choice. It felt creative, and I've grown to love it. I've grown to be passionate about it. But there were, looking back, I think many other things I could have explored had I been confident about pursuing those streams. But yeah, if you know what you want to do at the outset, nothing like, going for it, guns blazing. Um, that brings me to my next question. You did your BA in Arabic and Middle Eastern politics. You have two master's degrees, one in computation and the other in marketing. It's a very interesting mix here. And could you tell me more about this eclectic choice?
So my first degree was done because I have a passion for the Middle East region. My father's side is from the Middle East. My grandfather is from the Levant, from the Lebanese Syrian border. My grandmother was born, and she's from the West Bank. My father was born in Kuwait, raised between the West Bank and Jordan. We have family pretty much across most of the region. My wife is from the Gulf. Obviously, didn't know that university at the time, but anyway. So that was sort of my first reasoning for why I wanted to do Middle East studies. I was raised very much in the UK, but I wanted to try and reconnect somehow.
I see.
And you often do that through knowledge. With computation, my father, his job was actually in the tech sector, and my thinking was, okay, this is over 20 years ago, but technology is shaping everything around us. It's going to keep on shaping everything around us. And I initially thought I would actually go and work in the not-for-profit sector using my technology experience.
I see.
It didn't happen that way. I actually went into journalism as a technology channel writer, so basically writing about the industry of technology, the business of technology, sort of built on my writing when I was in university, so I did some writing there. And then my third degree, my second master's, was in marketing. And I did marketing. It was sort of, it was a executive master's or whatever, remote, and then in class. And I did that really just to round off my knowledge of that piece of what I often do, which is marketing. I'm a communicator by profession, but I'm also often asked to do marketing.
Yeah.
So marketing, looking also finance strategy, all the things that just really help in terms of progressing your career up the ladder. And will I stop? Probably not. I keep on learning. I love education. It drives my wife nuts because she's always saying, you've done enough. But I think the reason why I keep learning is because the industry continues to change. If I look back 20 plus years, we were using faxes to send out press releases.
Yeah.
Now we're discussing the pros and cons of using AI. So we're talking about purpose. We're talking about big issues like climate change and sustainability. So things will keep changing. They'll keep developing. And I don't think there is a function out there where there has been as much change as you see in communications.
That's really interesting. But I want to go back to you sending your first press release by fax. I have to say also, my first job was in a PR agency. We still did have a fax machine when I started. So I know how the grunt work involved with the PR back then. You mentioned you started your career as a journalist. Were you always passionate about writing, about research? And also, you started your journalism career by moving to the Middle East. Can you talk to me about those choices? And just tell me about doing these degrees and then kickstarting your career as a journalist in the Middle East region.
I think, looking at my career, I've always loved writing. Probably the exception of academic essays. 3,000 word essays and referencing, to me it's like torture, but I still do it. Writing, I love the power of the written word. And, if you look over thousands of years of our progress, the written word has stayed with us in terms of its ability to inform, to influence, and to effectively communicate. And I think, in a way, I fell into it. I applied for a job as a journalist in one of the publishers over in Dubai. They could see I could put a census together. I didn't know much about the subjects at the time, but they said, "Okay, come over." And it was almost like I was getting paid to not only do the job but also learn on the job as well, which was fantastic.
What a great combination! Yeah,
it was months and months of really learning how to do journalism well, and it stuck with me. The importance of being able to write well, being able to tell your story, being able to argue your point, the importance of pitching as well, and also as well the importance of asking difficult questions and understanding how to respond to them. That's when really I started interviewing people and putting them on the spot, which I still love to this day. I don't get as much opportunity to do that, but it's fascinating again to go in and really ask people the tough questions that their audiences, their stakeholders will want to hear. And whenever I can do, I still do writing, be it publications, be it on my blog, be it on social media. It's just something that I continually practice, and I do it just because I love it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, and I love reading your pieces and your thought leadership. So yeah, thank you for doing that. You then, after a short career as a journalist, you crossed over into the world of PR and communications. You went on to work with Weber Shandwick, ABB, Procter & Gamble, Schneider Electric, and even Ceer. What was, this crossing over like? And the journalists and PR community are always at odds of sorts. I have seen this back in India. The relationship can get very contentious sometimes. What was it like for you to move from being a journalist to the industry then to as a communications professional?
I think, one thing which obviously sticks in my mind is learning how to do P&L. So when you go agency side, look, it's billable hours. It's it's a business. So that's obviously different from being on the journalist side. But more specifically, I still think it's very much about being able to tell a story, and my benefit, obviously, what I used to do was I'm able to see what the story is, able to understand how to best pitch it, able to help shape that story, and really engage with the journalists, in a pretty frank and open discussion. That's how I sort of phrase what we do. We are there to help others better explain what they do, how they do it, and also the big question is the why. Why are we here as an organization? Why are you here as a leader? Why are you here doing what you're doing? What difference do you make? And everybody has a story to tell. I love dealing with journalists. Actually, the best for me, the best journalist experiences are the ones which are tough, because they really make you think. It's great to send out the press release and get it picked up by I don't know, X many outlets, which is all well and good, but you really want that, almost like that friction, to get the best out of what you are saying and what the people around you who want to engage with the journalist are saying. And the more friction you have, the more you understand really where the essence of the story is and how it can make an impact. So, and that's why as well, it's been, not just tough for journalists, but obviously it's been tough for them, but it's, in the industry, for me, it's been tough to see how media has struggled over the past decade or so. The best communicators understand that in order for us to not only succeed but also thrive, we need a strong media sector.
Yeah.
Not alongside us, and that is why I will always advocate for engaging with media and supporting journalism.
Um, that's so inspiring to hear, because we need more voices like that. And you are someone who really speaks truth to power. You say it like it is, and that for me is really precious. I want to know, how did you come to shape this ethos for yourself as a professional? How did you um, know for a fact that this is what you want to do and how you want to speak, how you really want to side with the truth? What is it that shaped that ethos?
I think with communications, in a sense, I fell into it. If I got paid a good wage for being a journalist, I'm sure I would still be a journalist. And I'm sure there are a lot of other communications people who feel the same way. But I fell into it. I was approached. Somebody said, come agency side, and so I took the plunge. That's what I did. And I think what is fascinating about comms is, when you do it well, you can see the impact it makes on so many different stakeholders, so many different groups. I'll give an example. When you go client side for the first time, I don't think there's enough appreciation of internal communications. We don't often do agency side, especially in say the Middle East region. But then when you go client side, you see the impact that good communications can have on a company culture and on the employees, on all those positive values that we seek to push and to help nurture. Things like transparency, dialogue, values, and that was, for example, an eye opener for me. What we can do as communicators to help others grow, to support their reputation, to increasingly protect them, when misinformation or disinformation is out there. I think to make connections as well, and also to tackle, again, big issues like, say, climate change. How can we try and push these issues, bring the outside in, get conversation started. And that's what, again, communications is all about. How can we try and foster growth in all these different areas where people should be talking about the things which impact their lives and impacts the lives of the communities around them.
I'm so glad you brought up internal communications. I myself was exposed to it very late in my career, actually. I think in my 8th year of working. But I could see what a strong influence I could have as internal communications within the organization, on bringing these important topics like values and sustainability, ESG, diversity into the focal points of our leadership. So I have to say internal comms is not my favorite. I'm biased towards external communications, but I absolutely agree with you on the value we bring as internal comms to an organization. I am itching to ask you this question. You seem to have it all figured out. You come across as very confident, always articulate. Let's be honest, you've got to have had some stumbling blocks in your career, right? Like some sort of recurring theme that has kind of always, maybe cost you opportunities or progress. Could you talk to me a bit about any challenges you've faced in your career and how you've gone about navigating it?
No, there's always issues. There's the office politics, which I think all of us deal with in some shape or form. There's the challenge sometimes of moving too fast, moving or rising too quickly. There's also the issue of patience and impatience.
Yeah.
To get stuff done. And then there's also showing the value that we bring. And it's not, we are not sales. We don't go in a meeting, we don't close the deal, and we come out and say, here you go, here's a signed contract. So I think my wife is going to laugh when she hears this, but with age comes a little bit more wisdom, not always, but a little bit more. And I think you learn to read the room better. I think you understand the importance of EQ and really try to build relationships. You also understand that sometimes you've got to move more slowly to get things done faster. And I think you also realize that some things just won't work out, and it's okay. It's fine to fail. And if you do fail, then don't beat yourself up too much about it. You just move on, and you just keep on doing what you're doing and working to improve yourself. We are not going to be a success in everything. If we were a success in most things, it would be fantastic. But it's a journey. You put it in communications parlance, the story is always evolving. And if you want, to have a happy ending, that's in your hands. How you define the happy ending. But so far so good. I've been very lucky in terms of who I've worked for, in terms of organizations, what I've learned. I've been also very fortunate in terms of working with some brilliant people across different organizations. And, I cherish those experiences, and, I keep those relationships as much as I can do, especially with the people who mean a lot to me. So,
yeah. And I've been a witness to that. I know you do that. I think it's a lot of value when I hear someone as senior as yourself talk about dealing with the everyday office politics. Someone like you having the typical challenges that the rest of us do face. I think it's reassuring that you're not alone, in the struggles that you have to embark on in your career. I want to ask you also, because I'm someone that's lived now in 5 countries. I've packed and unpacked a lot of suitcases. And in most cases, it's been my work that has, driven me to different places, start life afresh and, create new lived experiences for myself. You have lived in so many parts of the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Lebanon, Jordan. I want to hear from you if you think this mobility has really made you a better professional and a better person.
It certainly made me better at packing suitcases. So, that's the first point. But in all seriousness, I think, being exposed to other cultures opens you up to, first of all, seeking to understand more, stepping back and just taking it all in. It also helps in terms of, I think, developing a greater awareness for diversity. I think one of the traps that we can fall into in not just communications, but marketing, other disciplines, is assuming that our audiences are uniform. Each and every individual is different. And actually, in a way, that's what it's exciting about AI, because AI can allow us to personalize much more. It helps in terms of, obviously, languages. I also think that the more that you learn languages and you become a polyglot, the more you have to develop your ability to listen. I think that's such an important skill for all of us, especially communications. But I think listening is probably one of our most undervalued areas for development. We need to seek to understand more. And we do that through listening, we do it through observing, and then through analyzing. I'm very lucky where I am. Everywhere I go, I've ended up somewhere good and interesting. Food is fantastic over here. Weather is good. It's a little bit hot in summer. But I think what is also really interesting about being in the Middle East is just the pace of change.
Mm-hmm.
Things here move so fast. There's actually two speeds. The speed of sort of standing still, or the speed of going at, I don't know, light speed. And it makes you able to adapt pretty quickly. I remember there was the conference you were at in Bahrain with IBC, and I remember speaking to a friend in Scandinavia, and he was asking, how long did you have to prepare for this? And I said, we did it in a couple of months. And I could hear his jaw drop and hit the ground. And he said, there's no way we could have done this, in less than a year. Just the way that we are and the planning that we need. So, there's always the challenges, but I think, you learn from what is in front of you and you take it away, and, you build up your resilience, you build up your adaptability, you take all those experiences with you, and it does make you a better communicator.
I'm glad to hear that you're in favor of this being mobile and relocating and exposing yourself to different cultures. On the pace thing now, because I've worked for 8 years in India and then 6 years in Dubai, I am so used to working at such a quick pace. In the past 2 years since I've moved to the UK, I've had to really take a step back and do a lot of unlearning and slow down. So I completely understand. And I know how you organize that conference in a month. Like that region makes you be ambitious and do things at quite an unparalleled pace. And I do miss that a little bit as well. But I'm happy to slow down and experience what it's like to also pace yourself. It's quite a learning experience. Talking about learning, you have an always-on learning approach. You have a very impressive list of certifications. I'm not even going to begin to list them out. And I know that you're currently pursuing a postgraduate certificate in sustainable business from the University of Cambridge. Now you work full-time, you are a family man. What's your motivation and how do you make time for all of these pursuits? Because, time is the one thing that we all use as an excuse to not do more or not push ourselves. How do you do it all?
How do I make time? It's a good question. I really don't know the answer to that one. I think I just find time wherever I can, be it very early in the morning when nobody's up yet. It may be late in the evening as well. Luckily I've got a very forgiving wife who will tell me up sometimes. Say, you're doing it again. Why are you doing this again? Like, I don't know what you went through last time. But then, very supportive as well. I think it's also interesting, we have an 8-year-old daughter, and I think it's good for her to see, her daddy and also her mummy is always studying, which is actually the irony of me being told off. But it's good for her to see that we are constantly learning as well. The days of just going to university and then graduating and then that's it, they're over. As I said, with what we do in communications, especially, there is always change. There is a constant need to adapt and to develop and to grow. And we have to be on top of this. If we are able, or we want to do the best possible job for our organizations. If I think back, say to ABB, was what, 12, 13 years back, the idea of sustainability was really just emerging in terms of, what we see now. But, we didn't talk much about purpose. We didn't discuss, diversity and inclusion much. I'm sure there's going to be other issues. You look at, for example, technology and AI, they didn't really exist at the time. We didn't have misinformation, disinformation. So They're just a couple of issues which are coming up, and we have to really learn how to deal with. And we have to do it on the job. We have to do it through learning. And as I say, the best investment you can make is in yourself. So I'd always say, go and look at what you want to do and how you want to grow, where you want to be in a couple of years' time. Go and study that subject. It's easier than ever to study anything, especially online.
Yeah.
And get your organization to invest in you as well. Always make the case. If you want me to do a better job, invest in me, and then I will come back and I'll be able to better support the organization in terms of its needs tomorrow as well as today. So learning is for life, and communications learning is definitely for life.
I couldn't agree more. During the pandemic, I remember starting to learn French. And it was something I learned in school, and I always had a passion for that subject. But I was using it at work as well. My boss was French. I was managing some of our French Africa websites. And it really became a skill that I was using day to day almost. And it's something that has not left me even today. But I also have to say that, we go and attend so many conferences, we hear so many podcasts, like we do lots of courses. But, what do we do with the notes afterwards? For me, that's where I consciously started applying what I would pick up from hearing things from the outside. And I would consciously make a list of, okay, these are things I've learned at a course, a conference, a breakfast session. How am I going to apply this to my day to day? And for me, that's where the true sort of impact comes, when you are applying what you've learned. And I did it making a list, and it's such a thrill when you check things off that list, because they came out of nowhere. They came because you took the effort to go and attend a conference, but also bring back just one thing that you will apply. And I think there's a gap there. A lot of people really go out for all of these things. They listen, but they don't apply. And that's something that I want to consciously do, and it's not easy, but yeah.
You've got to make a decision, put it that way. What do you want to do? There are so many different ways of absorbing knowledge. It could be taking notes. I love it when people go to an event and they come back and they share the information. That's also a great way of learning.
Yeah.
But don't. It's like with life. Don't spread yourself too thin. Don't try and do everything. Be very specific in terms of what you want to do, and then go for it.
Mm-hmm. Don't spread yourself too thin. That's something that I have to keep reminding myself. You have also consistently published thought leadership. You've been a member of several industry associations, PRCA, MENA, IABC. You've organized conferences. You have so many speaking engagements. And through these various engagements, you have built a really solid, strong network. Where most people think of networking as something that they do when they're searching for a job, you again seem to be doing it as an everyday practice. Alex, is there a right way to approach networking, or what's the trick?
So I think this is very similar to how you can view a crisis. If you don't prepare for a crisis, then a crisis will come your way, and so likewise with networking, don't wait for the need to arise. Go out, engage, meet people. The good thing in terms of what we do in communications, we can share experiences, we can share learnings. There are many ways of making networking, I think, less painful, because I do think people see it as being difficult.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be in a room and you don't know anybody and forcing yourself to go and meet them. If you're an extrovert, it's okay, but if you're an introvert, it's really painful. You can join associations. I think joining association is always a helpful first step. People are always very friendly in associations, be it local or regional or global. Get yourself out there, just meet with people, listen to them, ask them what they do. What I've really enjoyed doing myself is events, events where you can share knowledge, where you can again ask questions, and I think that's always a good place to start. They don't even need to be physical. You can go and engage online. You can go and attend webinars and go and ask questions, for example, when the Q&A session is there. As long as you know one or two people, it makes networking less painful. You get in a room, and if there's a couple of friendly faces, it becomes a different experience. But do it. Simple as that. It will benefit you in terms of your career. You are going to move jobs. You are going to change. You are going to learn new experiences. You are going to, I think, understand how others do their jobs and hopefully absorb some of what they do and their good work. And networking is a channel to do all of this. So, especially when you're younger, and I think often people don't see the value of networking, particularly when they're younger. They see it when they're older. The earlier you begin, I think the more impact it can have on your career and how you shape yourself. So as I said, go in, join associations. Also as well, be proactive online. LinkedIn is the best place to do it. Look at what others are doing, follow them, write your own content as well, spark debate. And also networking, will lead you into different places. You could find a good mentor to help you grow and understand what you should be doing or what you could do differently. It can help in terms of building up groups that you have common interests in. And also as well, it's an obvious point. I've met a lot of really good friends through networking. So, you may think it's painful, but actually it will lead to lifelong friendships and joy and fun. So yeah, look at it from a different perspective and it will change how you network.
I can attest to that because I consider myself an introvert and I really push myself to go for these events and explore networking opportunities and just introduce myself human to human. It again was a very conscious effort because one of the best ways to learn is by getting out of your office bubble. And, when we're working within an industry, we tend to be so hooked on what our competitors are doing. We kind of are obsessed with that, but I want to see what others in other industries are doing. And that's how I learn. And going for conferences, events, networking sessions, that really has helped me get exposure to what marketing and communications professionals are doing in other industries and how can I learn from that. So I really have to put in a lot of effort because I am an introvert. So but I absolutely see the value in it. And the more you do it, it's like practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the more confident you become. So yeah, I would recommend networking as an always-on approach to everyone. Talking about events, conferences, I want to know what you think about awards. There are lots of them in our industry. You won some, I won a couple. Before you share with me your opinion, I want to say that when I won the MEPRA Young Communicator of the Year award, for me, the biggest thing it did was it gave me validation. it might not have opened, doors in terms of new, bigger career opportunities. But for me, the biggest thing it did was, it's not just me that thinks I'm good. It's those 10 people in that room that judged me who thought I was good. What is your take on awards?
So I think with awards, it's all about who gives it.
Mm.
What is their reputation like?
Agreed.
You can have the best awards, a rigorous process, a pretty tough jury, and when you get that award, it's validation, it's confidence. You feel as if you could take on anything. It also should help in terms of your own marketability. And for example, when you won the award, you should have had agencies or clients beating down your doors. And I think it's also, that's a different subject. We don't often see what is in front of us, but I've seen a lot of awards where it feels like it's basically what it is, pay to play. And I always see these on LinkedIn, top 100. And, if you put in the hard work, if you have, good, solid campaigns and ideas and you execute them well, you'll get rewarded for it, be it hopefully within the organization or externally by your peers. And I think that validation can mean the world to you, but the work itself, if you've done it well, that should give you, the confidence that you need to go on and do more. So yeah, as I said, I think awards are fantastic, depending on who gives them. I love to actually see more of us enter into awards which are independent, which have a rigorous process. I'd love to see actually more transparency around awards as well. But I'd also as well add on, awards of one area, but also something which I've always advocated for, a certification. I think certification is another area that our industry needs to look at more. If we are going to be given the respect that we deserve in terms of what we do, and communications is the most basic thing we do in our lives. As soon as we're born, we start communicating. It's as simple as that. And I think we need to really look at, how do we prove that we're able to do the job? So awards is one thing, but certification, basically, which is somebody else saying you have the skills and the expertise and experience, and that you tick off the boxes, like, for example, ethics, other areas. That is also something else that I think we need to do much more of. Just like, if you look at finance or law, would you go to somebody who's not a chartered accountant? Would you somebody who is not a registered barrister? No, you wouldn't. And they have certification programs for that very reason. And I want us to do the same as well in terms of communications. So yes, very much for awards, when they are independent and rigorously undertaken, but also as well, yes, for certification. So both will help us raise how we are viewed and perceived and respected by others.
Love that answer. Love that as a combination. Absolutely. And I think I'm going to look into doing a certification as well. I'm inspired here.
I'm happy to help you anytime.
Amazing. My final question, Alex, is what do you think it takes to make things happen?
What does it take to make things happen? A lot of energy.
Yeah.
Determination. I think belief in the idea, having a solid idea based on some sort of insight into your audience, an ability to convince others as well. Because I love to say that we always have the authority and the budgets. Often we don't. We've got to work with others. And then I think, again, the self-belief to see out the idea, take it from the idea to the strategy to the execution, and then the results, the measurement. So you've got to have that persistence you as well. You'll get feedback coming your way. Everybody is an expert on communications, which we'll always have to deal with. That's always going to be our challenge. But if you truly believe in it, you wanted to bring it to life, go do it. Don't let anybody knock you back.
Great tips and insights there. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for inspiring us, and thank you for joining me today.
It's been a pleasure, Hanisha. Thank you very much for having me on. And as I said, I'm going to hold you to certification. Okay?
Oh my God. I will. Thank you. And that's today's show. If you like this episode, please leave me a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. See you next time.